Director of the National Professional Teachers Organization of South Africa. It's always a pleasure to see you, Mr. Manuel. Thank you for availing yourself once again here to SABC News.
Good afternoon, Flo. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Now, of course, we'd heard the Minister of Basic Education, Angie Motshekga, saying that, it's all systems go just before the President was to announce whether or not learners would be going back to school full time. But, we've played these clips now here on the show indicating that it's a whole different situation. It was not, in fact, all systems go for many of the schools in our country. Talk to us about some of the challenges really that you've picked up for the day. I heard a learner there saying that, classes are too small, that there's no social distancing. This is quite a problem.
Flo, it is a serious problem. Of course, the minister was being very optimistic. And we've drawn the attention to various things which have played out today. Simply just the scanning of learners as they're coming in. The sheer number means that it's difficult to start school on time. And of course, not every province has appointed screeners and scanners to deal with the problem that we are experiencing. Then, of course, there's the huge problem of class sizes. Now, remember that classrooms don't grow in size. It doesn't matter what you do, they will remain static. Yeah. You've got to attend to the learners in the class. And if, as the clip suggested, there are 70 learners in a class, you will never get 1 meter social distance in. And remember, that's a reduced requirement. It was 1.5. And that's where the biggest problem lies. The other ancillary almost problems is water, the supply of PPEs and the like. But to come back to social distance, if we have to stick to that, we are not going to get it. But how much do we compromise when we don't know the extent of the problem with this particular variant? And that is where NAPTOSA's concern particularly lies.
Yeah. I mean, what suggestions have been sort of put forward by some of the stakeholders? And maybe, I'm putting you here as one of those stakeholders when I say that in terms of teacher unions. I mean, what suggestions have been put in place in terms of addressing the issue of small classrooms? I mean, obviously, we can't have learners outside, never mind the fact that we're still actually in winter. So we can't actually have learners, learning outside under trees, things like that. Surely there should have been contingency measures that were put in place, whether it was to build certain structures. Why was that, not done in the meantime while learners were not, in fact, on the premises?
So this is exactly where the problem lies, is that promises are made in terms of contingency measures. There will be mobile classes, there will be mobile toilets, there will be approaches made to churches and community centers and these that are in close proximity to the schools to send the spill over there. And then also, of course, that is what the department is saying. And we've added all the other rooms that are in the school, specialist rooms need to be used, etc. Because certainly NAPTOSA has embraced the idea that we want the learners back at school. However, it can't be at all costs, and something has to be done. But here's the cold water of reality. In 30 years, we haven't managed to solve the problem of overcrowding. It won't be resolved in a week. So either we are going to come to peace with some social distance, alternatively, we've got to go back to a situation where some schools are not going to be able to function. And that is a problem. You can't have 50 schools functioning and 10 not functioning. What happens to those 10 children? Yeah. They're not of lesser importance. And we've got to put our heads together. And unfortunately, the story is always like the one you referred to at the beginning. All systems go. No, we are ready. And then it proves not to be so. We will still discover a number of other issues out there. And it's a dire situation. There are some schools that are chronically oversupplied in terms of learners. And that overcrowding is not going to disappear, not even next year. But we've got to start somewhere, and mobile classes are but one of them.
Yeah, I must say that I'm quite disturbed to hear representatives of the Department of Basic Education saying things like some schools do not have enough resources, are under-resourced, and we hope not to have to close again. I mean, this falls directly on the lap of the department to deal with. If they can't deal with it, I mean, who else can deal with it? I mean, does that not also concern you in terms of some of the measures or ideas that they possibly have in terms of trying to get schools back to functioning?
So herein lies some of the issues where we are bumping heads. When, as unions, we are accusing the department of not coming to the party fully, you can't stand back and say, oh, the schools are under-resourced. What have you done about it over time? How are you addressing it now? What special measures have been put in place to address this? Yes, we know that every province has lost budget at the beginning of this financial year. Some provinces up to 6 billion rand. But what more have we done? Complaining about it doesn't make it go away. And then it sounds as though the unions are trying to keep schools not reopening fully. And yet every single teacher union in the LRC has committed to that, committed fully. But not at all costs, not at the cost of the health and safety, not only of the teachers, our members, but of learners too. And of course, it goes to the mental health of parents too, because they need to feel comfortable. It's like we're on a treadmill. We are expending a lot of energy, but we are not getting anywhere. We are not making distance. And this is the frustration we currently have.
Yeah. Interestingly, when you talk about, the teachers being back at school, but not at all cost, we've certainly been talking about teachers getting vaccinated. There was a teacher vaccination program, and perhaps this is ideal to talk about that. It becomes quite an issue here. I mean, how far are we there? What are you hearing from the teachers? And also just on the side, there was a story that was reported, of course, that if teachers refuse to vaccinate, they might find themselves, in trouble with the department. And I wonder, where we are in that discussion. At the moment, it's just something that people are kind of talking about and whispering about. You'll see it here and there. But I wonder if this was actually something that was a real issue.
So let's just package it. First of all, in terms of the vaccination program, I think it has been phenomenally successful.
Yeah.
More successful than we could have dreamt of. And if you look at Gauteng, 92% of teachers have been vaccinated. The national average is hovering near 80%. Now, there's a large number of people who have not been vaccinated, not because they don't want to. They're not doubters or even anti-vaxxers. They were ill with various things, even with COVID itself. And so they are being given a special opportunity to go and vaccinate because they can now vaccinate within the age cohorts that are there.
Yeah.
But of course, we've also been promised special days so that we can do the mop-up of this entire process. And that is good news. However, there are those that are serious antis, and many of them are belonging to certain religious groups, etc. And that is where we need government to step in, the department to step in with a program to address religious leaders, not in terms of forcing, etc., but rather education, because it's a powerful voice that is speaking into the ear of the faithful, saying this is not a good thing. And we need to change that narrative. Then there are, honestly, the anti-vaxxers. Now, our view is very simple. People have a right to bodily integrity. It's guaranteed in the Constitution. We can't start by threatening people. And the circular which you make reference to did do that. The department has been at pains to explain that that was never the intention, and we'll take them at their word. But we do want to see that the circular changes the tone in which it addressed those who have not taken the vaccine. Then, of course, there's the last group, those who would like to, but whose medical practitioners have advised against. And they have to be dealt with as individuals in terms of the provisions already there in the Department of Education. So it is not as simple as it all looks, but I think as a single group in the country, education workers would probably have the highest rate of vaccination to date, and it may even remain the highest. At over 80%, it's phenomenal.
All right. Thanks very much for speaking to us and giving us a full picture of what's happening indeed at the schools. We appreciate that, Mr. Manuel.
Thanks, Flo.
All right, that is Basil Manuel, Executive Director of NAPTOSA. Then we'll continue to get more reaction